Hey everybody, welcome to another DMVCBN Comic Book Club. I'm your host Freddie, coming to you from Washington, D.C. Today is Friday, September 27th, 2024, and we're here to discuss comic books, both new and old, print and digital. We're live on Zoom every weekend, and I want to personally invite everyone listening to come and join me on a future comic book club meeting. DMVCBN is not just a podcast, it's a club. It's a place for people to meet up and talk about what comic book media you are interested in. All are welcome. There's a lot to discuss today, so let's get started. I'd like to welcome my friend Claude back to the club today. How are you doing, Claude?
Good. Happy to be back.
All right, and lots to discuss today. Uh, First, I would just like to take a moment to remember Dame Maggie Smith. The news came out today that she passed away, and she's a very beloved actress. I'm probably most familiar with her from Sister Act and Harry Potter. Um, what about you? Are you familiar with Dame Maggie Smith?
Yeah, mostly Harry Potter because my wife has been a big fan of those movies and yeah, so it's yeah, definitely really surprising. I mean, it's yeah,
Yeah, like she really embodied that role of Professor McGonagall and just like was iconic for all the movies. And
definitely.
but she's had plenty of roles outside of that as well, and just a very illustrious career, and she will be missed. I just wanted to mention that. Um, Next, I'd like to just mention that the Thunderbolts trailer came out this week. Did you see that?
I did. I forgot that was so recent. I feel like I've seen it so many times now already. Just watching other people's reaction, and then I've watched it a couple times, showed someone. So yeah, I'm a really big fan of the MCU version of Bucky. So any new content with him on it, I'm going to find it. I will watch it. So I'm
All right.
excited.
I'll be honest. I am not very excited, but I will
Really,
probably watch it when it comes out, and maybe my excitement level will change.
it's
But
possible.
I guess like I don't want to be, um, downer about it. But I will say, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like the kind of MCU movie that I'm instantly attracted to, which honestly is probably for the
Gotcha.
best because that shows that they're doing variety. They're
Yeah,
appealing
it's
to
not all the
different.
same.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
Mm.
true. Appeal to different people. It's definitely my lane of movie and show, or like that's the type of comics I like too. So yeah, I'm interested to see what they do with their versions of these characters.
Yeah, like I like Bucky. Although I am like one thing that makes me hesitant about it is I feel like where we left Bucky in Falcon Winter Soldier and where we're finding Bucky and Thunderbolts are completely different places.
That
And,
yeah, that is unfortunate. I was like, just let the man rest.
and
Um,
I'm
maybe
sure
this
they'll
will be the
explain it. They'll
yeah.
go into it. But
I heard some people suspecting they're like, oh, what if he's back in the Winter Soldier programming? Like, and I was like, please don't let it be that, because then his arc is literally just recursive. And
right? And then
um,
on top of
yeah,
that, even his hair, like I feel like the haircut is I like this haircut better than Falcon Winter Soldier. That's all I can really say. Um, but besides that, you know, they're introducing the Sentry, which could be cool. I really did like the first Sentry storyline by Paul. I think it was Paul Jenkins and Jay Lee. Um, and then Bendis, yeah, Brian Michael Bendis brought Sentry more into like the mainstream comics in the 2000s, and so did Paul Jenkins, who came back and wrote a lot of Sentry stuff. And Sentry is one of those characters who has never quite fit because he's kind of like Marvel's Superman,
yeah,
but also
he feels like he would be in his own like image universe instead of being a part of the Marvel universe. He just always, yeah, he's had a very rocky history in the comics.
yeah, like even his debut story, I don't think it's too much of a spoiler to say the whole point of the story is just kind of like how he's been wiped out of Marvel history. Like he's trying,
Yeah,
like he does.
and it was going fine without him. Like, yeah, I
Yeah,
was like,
like
that might be the wrong lesson to teach them. Like, we didn't need him. Yeah, he does feel a little tacked on in a way.
so it's an interesting character, but yeah, they'll have to really kind of pull it off in a way that makes me more excited about it because I feel like it would have been more interesting to just have a Sentry movie, just Sentry solo. Um, but um, it does feel more like the Dark Avengers storyline where he was like integrated into like the team
Yeah.
and I did read a lot of Thunderbolts comic books, like I guess starting around like the Civil War era, going into
Yeah,
Dark
that's
Reign and all
most of
that.
the ones that I knew. So it was more of
Hmm.
the Luke Cage led
Hmm.
one.
Yeah,
And
I like that
I
one.
thought that was an interesting angle.
Hmm. I think this might borrow more from the Warren Ellis run where well Norman Osborn was in charge, but without Norman Osborn in the picture, we'd still have like a questionable person in charge. I think it's Val this time,
Yeah.
and and you got characters like Ghost who were there at that time, and I guess one thing that frustrates me is just the cast of it is very uh like it's not a traditional Thunderbolts cast in any way, shape, or
Yeah,
form.
yeah, definitely. A lot of people are upset. There's like no Zemo, no
Mm-hmm.
Songbird, especially, and very samey power sets. Like they're
Mm-hmm.
all super soldiers, basically.
Yeah.
It doesn't have that variety of like having like Man Thing or someone who goes giant. Like a variety of powers probably would have made it more interesting. But because Marvel hasn't introduced a ton of villains that could be in it, or they've killed off everyone they introduced, they don't have the toys to play with in this one. So
Yeah, like I will say,
unfortunate.
like I agree. I kind of felt like the lineup doesn't have that variety of powers or even that much diversity, to be honest. Like I feel like
Oh, that's a good
originally
point.
Steve wasn't Stephen Yoon
Yeah.
cast as Sentry, and then he had to drop out for whatever reason. And who was it? Bill Pullman, I think, Sentry now. Um,
Yes. Like Pullman.
and I mean, I'm still gonna give it a chance. I'm not trying to poo-poo it before I even watch it, but I will just say, I'm not as hyped as I was for Agatha All Along.
Gotcha.
So,
Okay. Yeah. Fair. Fair.
so speaking of Agatha All Along, it's been 2 weeks since I've been able to host a comic book club, and we haven't been able to really kind of chat about Agatha All Along, which debuted 2 weeks ago. But you know, now's the time. It was reported, I think earlier today, that the in the first week of its debut, Agatha earned over I want to say 9.3 million views on Disney Plus.
Yeah. Something under 10, but yeah.
Mhm.
Or
Like that's pretty impressive. That's more than WandaVision, which got I think about 4 million. Um, and they're saying it's one of the lowest budget ones of them all.
which is great. I'm like, please, more low budget because then it's less stress on the movie or the series having to perform a specific amount. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I will. That
More
surprised me.
mid-budget stuff in there. Yeah.
Like that surprised me because it's still a high quality show. It feels like the way it's
Yeah,
produced and
I wouldn't have
directed and
assumed it
everything.
was like much less than WandaVision or the
Hmm.
yeah.
And you still have some pretty A-list actors. I mean, from my perspective, like Patty LuPone, Catherine Hahn, like
Yes.
and then other actors. I'm familiar with Shasir Zameda. You've got who else is? I'm not familiar with Ali An, but I think she's doing a great job. Um, of course, Deborah Jo Rupp has been a
Yeah, yeah.
spotlight character that we've all enjoyed. Okay, so let's do a mild spoiler alert. So we'll just cover our bases in case we happen to discuss spoilers, but we just
Yeah.
want to give our general thoughts about it. There was one more witch. Who am I missing? I think I said them all. Patty, Shashir, Ali. Aubrey Plaza.
Yes, yes.
I think.
Absolutely amazing in the role.
Did you used to watch Parks and Recreation?
I did. That's
Me
where, yeah,
too.
that was my first exposure to her.
Yeah, so we had Aubrey Plaza and Catherine Hahn who were both on that show, and then I think they even had a mini Parks and Rec reunion at the premiere because did you see
Yes.
that?
I can't
Amy
remember his.
Poehler and
Yeah, and then
Adam what's his name? The
Scott
guy
Adams. Is Adam
Adam
Scott?
Scott. Yeah, they both showed up to support their Parks and Rec cast members, and yeah, I mean, I'll just say Agatha All Along is everything I hoped it would be and more because like we had heard all these different teases about it. Like, Patty LuPone was like, "It's gonna be a musical," and then like we knew it was gonna be kind of witchy and spooky and Halloweeny and um, and we knew it's like a direct sequel to WandaVision. So it's like all these different things, but the way that they pull them together, and for me, a pretty seamless way. Like each episode has been a banger so far. We've had 3 episodes. I've really enjoyed all of them. What about you?
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. The performances, especially, like the actors are just going for it. And it's working, in my opinion. Yeah, I didn't have a ton of expectations for it. I'm like less into Wanda than some people, so I'm like, it's cool that we will probably get some more about her and a potential return or something if that's where they go with it. But yeah, I was like, I like witch stuff, but I didn't expect anything in particular from this. I was like, they're gonna debut some new characters here, and it'll be good to see how they pull that off. But yeah, I just went in like, let's see what they do, and they've really impressed me so far.
Like I have been all about the witchiness of it, like because I love, witch character. I love Sabrina. I love Hocus Pocus and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I knew this would be right up my alley. And then I mean Wanda's cool, but like, you know, I mean I liked WandaVision a lot. I even rewatched it before watching this, but um, you know, I still even the first time I watched it, I felt that the finale was kind of like not the best part of it.
Yeah,
I'm not
no,
gonna say
I
it was
definitely
bad.
agree. Yeah, but it kind of like dipped a little right at the
Hmm.
end, and that's
Hmm.
not how you want to finish it off.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of people kind of remembered it worse for that. But I think, yeah, I haven't revisited since. You rewatched it before Agatha, right?
Yeah, so I mean, like it really was a great show. Like out of all the Disney Plus shows, for that one to be the first one out of the gate, it started so strong because it was so full of intrigue and like it was just so different. Like I don't think we really expected to see any Avengers in like a I Love Lucy style comedy,
Yeah, yeah.
and just the way it homaged the history of television was, I think, brilliant. Like in a way that has nothing to do with comics, but it's
Yeah, it
still
was
kind of
just a love letter to
based off
yeah,
the
to that.
comics.
And
Hmm.
yeah, it was really cool. I know some people were frustrated with that at the beginning because they're like, "Oh, when does it get to like the real story of it?" But I thought it was a fun ride, like to get to that
Same,
point. Like it made it more fun because I was enjoying what was leading up to it, but I knew it was also gonna eventually get much more MCU at the end.
yeah,
It went a
and
little too MCU at the end, but yeah.
so exactly, and so for WandaVision by episode 4, I think is when we really start to see the MCU side of things. Whereas in Act All Along, the very first episode is another homage to a genre of television, particularly true crime, and I guess very specific, like Mayor of Easttown references, and did also do True Detective. Like I don't know, I haven't really
Yeah,
seen those
that's the
shows.
vibe it got to me, but I also never watched Mayor of Easttown, so I was
Hmm. Yeah, but you can still get a sense of it if you've ever seen like a Law and Order or anything,
yeah,
like
you get
in that
the
vein.
tropes of like
Hmm.
the surly detective who's getting into arguments and everything, and then how they kind of explained away how everyone was treating her after that was really interesting.
I love that just because because even from the beginning, you can kind of see the references to WandaVision where like she was always talking to Herb and Herb was across he was there was a fence between like
Yeah,
Every
and it was the
sitcom,
police tape in the at the
yeah,
beginning, and it was
I
like, oh,
love
she was
little stuff
definitely
like
ducking
that.
under his, yeah, like trying to get
And
around the fence.
it's like so many shows had like that neighbor who's like just over the fence. You had like Home Improvement, the guy
Yep,
who
that was
you
my
barely
first
ever saw
thought.
his face,
Yeah,
or
Wilson.
like,
And
hmm or what's another one? Like I think Boy Meets World, like the teacher lived next door, and
yep.
like he was also like right over there. And I don't know, I just love little touches like that. And like the acting, Catherine Hahn, I think she's brilliant. Like some people complain she's overacting, but that's kind of the point. Like because it wasn't real, and like I
Yeah.
think we kind of know as like if you especially if you've seen WandaVision, I think you're meant to kind of be thrown off and be like, what's going on? Like this is very different than where we left her. So of course
Yeah,
she has
like
to
we're
be
just we're
woken up.
picking up somewhere else. Yeah,
Hmm
like I thought it was really good. Yeah, for there was like some parts where I'm like, oh man, she's like really, really going for it. But if you think back, like that's part of the spell falling apart. Is like she's under a lot of strain, so she's acting more erratically than she was before too. So I'm like, okay, it all like makes sense to me. Like, and Agatha's very extra to begin with. So I mean, to
Yeah.
me, I'm like, yeah, even with her line deliveries, once she's out of the spell, it's like, yeah,
hmm
that's just Agatha. She's dramatic. And
Yeah, and I
yeah,
love
it's
that about her.
hilarious.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's very funny. She's definitely a villain. Like she's not a heroic character. I don't think she even really tries to be. But that
Mm-mm.
said, it's kind of funny because, in the first episode, she's a detective. So she's like trying to solve a murder. So she's not necessarily the bad guy in that instance. And then in the second episode, she's basically trying to assemble the witchy Avengers, like she's like, we gotta
True.
assemble the
True.
team. Like it's less motivated by her and more instigated by Joe Locke's character. I forgot to mention him, but yeah, we have Joe Locke playing Teen,
Teen.
a very mysterious character who we all have our thoughts and theories about who he really is. Do you want to tell us your bet on who Teen is?
My current, I mean, I think it's very possible that they are going a route where they're somehow going to combine the Agatha's son from the comic with Wicked, and it's going to be like a
The
mash
mishmash.
of the two. Yeah, like both. My other fun theory that I had before the show started, because of recent Agatha comics, those annuals, the Contest of Chaos that they did,
Mm-hmm.
um, in that one, the Darkhold by the end of the series became a child. So
Mm-hmm.
it was the Darkhold as a person.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I thought that could be interesting. And some of the stuff from this episode makes me think it could almost be all three of those things.
Yeah, like at this point, all of those theories make sense. Like,
Yeah.
before the show started, I felt very strongly that it was going to be Nicholas Scratch,
Hmm.
um, because there had been rumors of that years ago, and 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 the show is being very deliberate, like that. Like they show a scene where it looks like they talk about her losing a child all the time, and
Yeah. Yeah. It's come up a
so
lot, and in
so
her vision in the most recent episode was also very tied to that.
so it makes more sense to me for the show to make this about Agatha and her family and her story rather than about Wanda and her family and her story. But that said, I do think they might borrow a lot from Wiccan, Billy Kaplan, Billy Maximoff, just to kind of like either throw us off or just because they can. Because I don't know, like there's definitely some hints that look like what we like, just like the costuming or the magic that he uses. Um, and so, like you said, it could be a mishmash. And then the dark hole theory, I like that theory. I mean, we literally saw her freaking out because she saw the dark hole in a crib. So uh, it's not a
All
big
right.
magical
I
leap.
will be right back. I can still hear you, but I'm going off camera for a second.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, I definitely think it's not a big magical leap to say that maybe she turned the dark hold into a child and did a spell of uh, forgetfulness on everybody, or like protection, so that neither one of them would know that he still exists. I guess the real thing that throws me the most off is the fact that he acts like a normal person. Like he drives a car. He says he's from um, Eastview, and he claims to have parents. So that's very like Billy Kaplan in the sense that like the
Yeah,
soul of
referencing
Wanda's
the parents
child.
specifically, yeah. And I've heard some rumors or suspicion that the car accident they mentioned in the first episode, it could be
Yeah.
that like he died and got possessed by Agatha's son or
Hmm.
spirit of
Like
Wiccan or
that was a very
something like that.
deliberate clue. Like it's hard to make heads or tails of what that meant because it was part of her delusion or her or the spell, but everything else in that spell had its
Some sort of
basis in
counterpart.
reality.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. But this show is funny. This show is spooky. Like I feel like Madison in She-Hulk where she was like, first it was spooky and then it was scary. And then I was like, that was spooky again, but in a fun way.
But in a fun way.
Yeah. Like I love this show. I love the song. It's been stuck in my head. Like they deliberately like forced it to be like an earworm, just like Agatha All Along.
Yep.
Um, and I love how well the song was integrated into the story. Like it had so much context behind it.
Yeah, it's got a ton of like, and it's gonna come up again probably. Like the
Oh, I'm
lyrics
sure.
are gonna carry throughout the whole series, so it was like an arc thing too. Brings up
Yeah,
a lot.
like already they've had several versions of it in the first three
Yep.
episodes alone. Um, yeah, the cast is great. The set design is great. Like you said, the for them to do this on such a low budget, it's really impressive. I don't know
Yeah.
how they did it. I hope that no one's getting underpaid because
Yeah. I imagine a
uh,
lot of the budget went to the costume.
I
The
think
like,
most of the budget
I
is
think
going
they're
to
gonna
Robert
change.
Downey Jr., RDJ.
That's a good point. Just all Marvel like projects from now on have an earmarked chunk that's to pay his salary.
You gotta pay that RDJ tax.
For sure. But yeah, like when they got, I know there's gonna end up being like costume changes for each episode with how they set up the most recent one. So each
Yeah.
thing's gonna be like a different genre or a different era.
Oh,
And
and
they're gonna look fantastic.
yeah, and I gotta say, like just from the teasers I've seen, I'm not gonna spoil too much because I don't even want to be spoiled myself. But it does look like they're really gonna reference a lot of different witchy things, which they already have done a lot of that already. So we're seeing Wizard of Oz references. We're seeing um, craft references. We're seeing practical magic references. We're seeing all these things. Um,
Bewitched in
and
the
Bewitched.
credit sequence at the end.
Yep.
Yeah.
So like I really and again, I gotta give it up to the timing of this series. Like coming out in September, starting off spooky season, they're gonna end with a bang right before um, Halloween, and I'm sure a lot of people will be wearing Agatha costumes.
I
But this,
bet. I bet.
but this seems so much more planned out than like when Wednesday came out, like in November, like after Halloween. I was like, what's
Right?
going on? But it was still popular. But I guess when is Wednesday season 2 coming out? Is that also after Halloween this year?
Probably. I haven't heard recently.
Yeah, I
But
guess
I bet you.
Netflix. I guess Netflix just doesn't really do it like Disney does. But all right. Any other thoughts about the first three episodes of Agatha?
No, I hope the quality continues. I feel like it will, and we just have to hope like they don't have a rough landing at the end because sometimes the Marvel series have that problem. So I'm
Yeah,
hoping for a solid ending that makes it a very rewatchable show too. I would add this to
same.
my Halloween rotation if it ends good.
Yeah, like I think part of the problem is that we as fans we love to hop on the speculation train. And so when that happens and then the show ends differently than how we expected it to end, then that causes a lot of frustration too. So I'm trying to go in with very few expectations, very little speculation. But uh, yeah, I think that if they've done so well these first three episodes, whether they win or lose on the last one, I'm still going to enjoy it overall. Um, but that said, we do have to mention that they dropped the big M in episode 3. The
They
the
certainly
character
did,
everyone's been
yeah.
waiting for since WandaVision. They're like, Is it Mephisto? Well, here he is. Maybe we know he exists in the Marvel universe now, and we'll see what he has to do with this storyline, if anything.
If
Uh,
anything, yeah, if that's his only inclusion in this and it's still good, then fine. Like that's okay. Like it doesn't need to be Mephisto.
yeah, I don't need
Uh,
to see a big red guy pop up, but if he
yeah,
does, I won't be mad about it. I'm just excited to see where it goes.
for sure, for
All
sure.
right. So, now I want to take a few minutes to talk about Baltimore Comic-Con. This is the reason why I was unavailable last week because made a 3 day weekend out of it. Me and my boyfriend went down to Baltimore, or up to Baltimore, I guess I should say. And yeah, it was a great time. I shared some pictures on my Threads account if anyone wants to see. I might even pop some here in this video. But I mostly just want to share a few things that I didn't share on Threads yet. So I got this really cool print. It's the Spider-Verse characters.
Oh, that's awesome.
This was by Will Brown. So shout out to him. He had lots of great prints. Look up his art online. And then I got this cool Black Panther print by
Very
Jim
nice.
Calafiore. And he had a lot of different prints of this style where it's like paint splatter and different colors, like, and they were sold in like combos. Like you could get all four Ninja Turtles. You could get
Oh,
actually my
gotcha.
yeah, my boyfriend got Daredevil, Kingpin, and Elektra, and
Nice.
yeah, like those were really cool. Um, uh, I also got this print from by Ryan Dunleavy about Seduction of the Innocent. It's just like
Wow.
it's like a silly comic that kind of talks about how silly it was.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And it was I like his art because I I'm familiar with him from Action Philosophers, and and also there was a whole panel about the Seduction of the Innocent that we went to just because it was such a huge part of comics history and had such an impact on the industry and the creatives. So, um, and we talk about it a lot on this podcast because it was also a big part of Riverdale season 7, which we reviewed um,
Gotcha.
on Spotify and Apple. But um, Louise Simonson, Al Milgram, and Dan Parent were part of that panel, and that was pretty interesting.
Wow, that's
Um,
cool.
yeah, and Louise Simonson, she was on a lot of panels. Like she was on also there was an X-Men panel with Louise Simonson and Tom Brevoort. So I got to like see them in person. I even got to ask them a question. So I kind of do have a
Nice.
little exclusive scoop. I don't know if you guys want to hear about it, but
Let's do this.
basically I had asked Tom Brevoort about the digital comics and what his take was on that because I know there's been a lot of mixed opinion online. And he said that mostly it's just about trying to have something for everybody, especially new readers who might be more digital than print. And he did say that he's they're planning to release a print version of the first 6 issues of X-Men from the Ashes, the Infinity comic. That's
Mhm.
the news that
Oh,
I hadn't heard
nice.
about
Yeah, the one,
elsewhere.
yeah, I
Mhm.
hadn't heard that either. The one that we were like, oh, this needs to be like read before you jump into everything. That's
Yeah,
cool.
like that's my thing. Like I feel like you know, if you have a Marvel Unlimited subscription, then you're already getting it all. Like you have the digital, you have the stuff that comes out in print. But if you're only getting print, you're not getting the whole story. So that's what kind of frustrates me. Um, and I hope that it sells well. But then again, I'm also very frustrated as a person of color because I have pointed out like there have been zero people of color featured in the first 16 issues of the From the Ashes Unlimited comic, which drives me crazy
Wow. Yeah.
because before From the Ashes, when it was the Krakoa era, it was full of characters of color, queer characters, like lots of diversity.
Yeah,
And now
it
I'm like,
was a bunch of different titles. Yeah.
yeah, now I'm like, where are they? Like they just got erased, and I'm so mad. But that said, the stories are still good. You like get to learn about Scott and Jean, we get to learn about Professor X, we get to learn about um who else? Magneto later on.
Alex
Alex
Summers.
was in the first six
Yeah.
issues, I think. So, there's some important stuff in there if you want to get that connective tissue. So go pick that up if you want to see more of it, I guess, in print. But there was another great panel. This one, on the last day, they had a panel called Collections in Black, um, by Philip Thompson was the moderator. And there was only like a few people who were listed to be there. But then once it got started, more and more people kept showing up. And this was like basically all the Black creatives who were at the Comic-Con. Like you had Brian Selfreeze, you had Joshua Swaby, you had Stephanie Williams, you had Afua Richardson, you had Keith Williams, you had Sanford Green. Like it was like they it was literally the Black Avengers up in there, and it was really amazing. Like
So
we
they all
talked
joined
about
in on the
how,
panel too. Like it was
yeah,
surprise, like extended. Oh, that's cool.
yeah, like little by little they kept trickling in, and then and Afua Richardson, she was decked out in like a Shuri costume, so it was literally like Avengers
Yeah,
were like
like
walking in the room, and everybody was so hyped, and like it was a small panel, but like it felt historic just because they were just talking about how what it's like to be a Black creative in comics, and from their stories, there does seem to be like a before and after period because like some of the people from the previous generations, their experience was that they didn't people didn't always know they were Black. They couldn't tell by their name. You weren't always seeing people, like there wasn't internet. People's faces weren't as like prominent.
yeah, they weren't part of the conversation
Mm-hmm.
like online with everything because that wasn't a thing.
Whereas some of the newer creatives, they were like, well, there some of them are actually getting opportunities because of identity, because of like 2020 we had the George Floyd protests, we had Black Lives Matter movement, so it's like there was that effort to bring in more Black creatives, and and it's not just filling quotas, they're actually talented. Like
Yeah.
look at their stuff. Like Joshua Swaby is amazing as an artist. Stephanie Williams is a great writer, so it's like um it does point to some interesting like discussions about just on the topic of race and diversity in the industry. But overall, in that it was just a good vibes panel where everyone got to kind of like speak on their experience, and it was a great way to end the day on at the end of the Comic Con. Um, but I gotta say, I did also buy some comics. Okay, so that's what we're there
Hey.
for, right? So um, I got some cool free stuff. There's this new book called Planet Death by Bad Idea Comics. Like, I haven't read it yet,
Okay.
so I'm gonna check it out. It looks very cool. Um, I got the Batman: The Long Halloween #1.
Very nice.
Yeah, so I've read this before, but couldn't pass up a free special edition issue with
Definitely.
that cool cover. Um, and then I was digging through the $1 bins. You always got to do that. You can get some good finds. I picked up. So since we're talking about Wanda and stuff, I got Avengers West Coast #47. You can see
Nice.
Wanda and Vision there. So I'm gonna have to read that. I haven't read that yet. I got Wonder Man #1.
Oh, okay.
So gotta. I figure maybe uh it might be worth something after the Wonder Man show comes out. I don't know.
Probably. We'll see. We'll see. I don't know when that one's
Um,
coming out, but yeah, it's still
yeah, maybe next
supposed to be on
year or
the way.
maybe 2 years at most. But I think they've already done some filming on it. I picked up Uncanny X-Men 500. I think I already own this issue, but it was $1, so I was like, you know what, I'll get it. It's the
Yeah, like
gatefold
if I don't
cover.
have it, then I do now. Yeah.
Yeah, like that was a landmark issue, so now I got two copies. Um, and then I found the first four issues of Dracula by James Tynion the fourth and Martin Simmons. So, yeah,
Nice.
like since they were in order, I was like, let me just get all four. I'll see if I like it. Just in time for spooky season.
Yeah. Oh, Tinian is like the king of spooky season. So
Yeah, so I think that'll be a good read. Um, so I spoke a little bit about Afua Richardson before. I got this print from her. She did this artwork that was featured in the movie Across the Spider-Verse, featuring Spider Punk, and I
okay.
love this image because like it's like a faux cover because it's not like a real comic, but like it's basically like him fighting literal fascist pigs. Like you can see they have snouts and everything. They're like the cops.
Yeah.
So it's
Nice.
just kind of funny. Um, yeah, when I got to meet her that day, she was dressed like Storm, and she looked amazing. It was so cool. I was like, wow, like
I was about to say, yeah, she went all out. She's
yeah, I'm like she really hit the trifecta of being like talented, beautiful, and good at cosplay. I'm like, wow, like I can't wait to see more of her stuff in the comics. Like, because I didn't know this, but she's been in Marvel Comics for at least 20 years, and so like they need to like put her on more stuff because
yeah, I didn't know that either.
like I don't think it's any knock against her. I just like because like sometimes Marvel does this thing where every once in a while they'll highlight Stormbreakers or Young Guns, and these
Hmm.
are people who have been in the industry for a long time. Like I remember, I think Lionel Yu was like a young gun in like 2010 or something, but he had been there since like the 90s. So I
Yeah,
was
like
like,
we've
but
decided now we're highlighting this new talent that,
yeah.
has been here a decade.
I was sad that I missed the Lionel Yu panel, but I did get to see the Jim Lee panel, and he was like drawing Batman like live for the whole
Yeah,
audience, and he's kind of a funny guy. Um, he's got kind of a charismatic sense of humor, um, and then also I got to two more things I want to show you. I got to meet Dan Parent, and I got this Riverdale Pride variant for like the Archie summer movies special. So that was pretty cool because I got to ask him a question about uh, when we were at the Seduction of the Innocent panel. We were like, well, now you introduced the first gay character to Archie Comics, and so he said he didn't get pushed. Like this was right after they stopped doing after they stopped doing the Comics Code of Authority,
yeah.
but they still had pushback from like the moms of America and all that stuff. So
Hmm.
it's kind of interesting to see how like the journey of history where it's like first you get censorship from like the McCarthy era and all that, and then now it's like people who are against the woke agenda and all that stuff. So
Yeah, like
yeah.
it's cyclical. They're like, we'll bring
Hmm.
in another thing to have a problem with. Yeah.
And last but not least, Baltimore Comic-Con had this exclusive variant for Archie: The Decision by Tom King and Dan Parent. All right,
Nice.
this
I
cover
did
is
not know there
by
was a Tom King Archie comic. That's
oh
wild.
yeah, like I already bought an issue and I failed to bring it to the Comic Con, so I had to buy this one. But I don't regret it. This one is exclusive to the Comic Con. It's got
Yeah,
a
it's got
cover by
awesome.
Steve Conley, and I got them both to sign it. So I
Oh,
got
that's awesome.
Tom King and Dan Parent's signature on here.
Hell yeah.
So I mean, it's a classic Archie story, but it's just kind of I never expect to see Tom King write for Archie. So like
Yeah,
it's
I didn't know it was a thing.
yeah. So he and then
But
I got another exclusive scoop. He told me that that day when he signed my comic, he's like, I just got another pitch approved to do another Archie story. So it's gonna be
really
called the draft. I think is what he said it's gonna be called. So we
interesting.
can look forward to that if you're an Archie fan. And yeah, I got to see so many cool cosplayers. Took some pictures with them. So if you've never been to Baltimore Comic Con, I recommend that you go, or maybe find one closer to where you live if you can find one. Or if you need to travel, it might be worth it because
I need to
it's
get
always
my
a fun
tickets
time.
for Emerald City for next year.
Awesome.
That one's pretty fun.
Yeah, and if you do, let me know about it. I want to hear all about it.
Yeah. I'll try to do more stuff this time. I was still getting into the swing of going to cons last year, but I got some cool stuff too.
Awesome. All right. So now I want to hear a little bit about what books you've been reading since I last saw you 2 weeks ago.
Okay, so from not this Wednesday, but the Wednesday before, I grabbed Paranoid Gardens by Dark Horse. That's one of those weird Gerard Way comics, as
Okay.
expected. Really interesting. It's very much a slow burn. It's only supposed to be. Now I need to make sure I have it right. I think it's 6 issues. So we're about halfway through. It might be 8, but it's basically like a superhero retirement home.
I
And
heard about that
there's some
title.
weird things
Yeah,
going on. Yeah, it's there's a mystery about one of the people who works there, and then a lot of sinister stuff going on in the background, but it's very weird and it's got an eerie feel and it works really well. Um
cool.
I got the Power Fantasy #2.
Ah, yes, that's
Yeah.
on my list. I haven't read it yet, but I want to because I like the first one so much.
So oddly, well, I it's not oddly because everyone has the sentiment after reading it. The best thing of an already great thing. So it's a great comic, but the um the back has an essay that Gillen wrote that's like basically the thesis for the series. And I feel like it should have been in the first issue because it would have really like grabbed people. But I mean, it's great where it is too. Just his whole philosophy on like superheroes and kind of explaining that this spins out a little bit of his work in X-Men. Like there's some stuff he wanted to get to that he couldn't really. Um,
Yeah, I
there's
could tell that from
repurposed a bit of
issue
that.
one, but yeah,
Yeah. And just really interesting stuff. And
can't
then
wait to
X
read
Factor
it.
2,
Nice. Yes, I got that one also.
nice. And I got it this week, even though it came out last week. The Tin Can Society.
Okay. What's that about?
So it's one of those. I feel like there's got to be a name for this genre, but basically, it's a group of friends that, like, as kids were friends, and then they all have to come back together again as adults because one of them has been murdered.
Ah, okay.
That kind of story. But the interesting thing is, it's one that was murdered was basically like the Iron Man of this world. And
Hmm.
it's like the journey of how he got there and everything. 'Cause he was born with, I think it was spina bifida. He
Hmm.
had a bunch of struggles growing up and everything. The writer has a really good interview, and I wish I knew where to link it, or yeah, I'd have to find it again. But basically, he is trying to talk about like disability and things like that in the story. It's really, really interesting stuff. It's going to go 9 issues, but the interior art is amazing. Like, it's probably the best art I've seen in the past 2 weeks. It's just, yeah, top notch. And then from this week, I just grabbed 2 things, which was Phoenix #3 and Uncanny #3.
Yeah, gotta read those X books. Those are on my list as well. I did read Uncanny #3. So that's one that I got to read. I'll go through my list. Um, so the first thing I read before going to Comic-Con, I read the Spectacular Spider-Man #1 and #2 because I showed on a previous comic book club that I got this like free collection featuring #2 and #1 was on Marvel Unlimited, so I read them both. And
Gotcha.
and have you read that at all?
No, I haven't.
Like
Spectacular?
yeah, it's Spectacular Spider-Man, so it's basically
Oh, it's
um
yeah, with them
Pete
together, right?
and Miles, yeah, like kind of like a partner comic. I don't know, like it's
Oh,
what to say about
that
it.
was gonna be Greg Weisman, right?
Yeah, it is Greg
Okay.
Weisman on it. Um, I just feel like it's a little weird because there's all this resistance for Miles to be Peter's sidekick. Like that ship has sailed. Like he's not really
Yeah,
like
way
he's
long
his own
gone.
character now. And he's matured a lot in the comics, even though he's still in high school. Like, they even kind of lampshade that. Um, but it's like kind of weird because like essentially Peter and Miles set up this like regular date, and they even call it. And I was like, well, but like you're like a grown man, and he's like a high school teenager, and like where are his parents and all this? But anyway,
Yeah, it's
um,
like a mentorship thing,
yeah,
or like,
right. Like it's so like I'm okay with him being like a mentor, but then you have the problem where everyone knows Peter is like way more immature, and Miles is actually the more mature one out of these
yeah,
two. So it's kind of like a weird dynamic. It's not Batman and Robin. It's
definitely.
arguably the opposite of that. Um, but Miles is not Batman by any stretch of imagination. So it's like
True.
it's its own thing. Like if you like Spider Man, you might like this, but it's kind of a weird thing because it's always weird when a character or multiple characters are in multiple books at the same time because there's like where do they fit in continuity wise. So I don't know, but I might keep reading just to see what it's about. Um, I read Avengers number 18. That was pretty good. I liked seeing more of the team, and we even got a little bit with the X-Men. I read X-Men number 4, Jed McKay. Um, so if you are reading X-Men, there's so many X books.
I was about to say I'm not keeping up with the non-adjective one right now.
Hmm.
So yeah. Um,
Um,
how
it
is four? How was?
it wasn't bad. It had a fill-in artist, Netho Diaz, who did the Era of Apocalypse miniseries. Um, he was doing his best Stegman impression, so it wasn't that off from what Stegman does. But uh, story wise, it had some good moments, but and it really does call back. It brings characters back from ecstatics from like 2000. So I've been saying all along, this whole From the Ashes just feels like a reboot of the 2000s,
Yeah.
just under different names, and I guess that's fine. I mean, the 2000s wasn't a bad time. That's when I got into comics, so I can't really complain.
Yeah, I was about to say I love so much from that era.
um, Another book that I read was Multiversus Collision Detected number 1. Have you heard about this?
I saw it in store, but I didn't really look too closely at it.
It's basically just like a comic version of the game, the new Multiversus game, where you got all the Warner Brothers
Yeah.
characters, DC characters, cartoons, all kind of like mishmash. So this kind of gives some story to it, and it's just kind of funny to see Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman kind of like meet Bugs Bunny. I think next issue they're gonna meet Scooby Doo,
Nice.
uh, and they've already met
So
before,
you'll
but
definitely be sticking with that series because you got to
I
get your Scooby-Doo
yeah, I
fix.
mean, I think it's just I think it's cute. I don't know how many issues it's gonna be, but I assume it won't be like a really long
Yeah, I
ongoing.
wouldn't think so.
Hmm.
Watch it become
Uh,
the longest ongoing.
yeah, I think so far I think there's 6 issues planned.
Okay.
Um, uh, so X Factor, we both read X Factor. Any quick thoughts about that? You want to share?
It's so hard being an Alex Summers fan sometimes. Um, because I have a review of this one up on my Instagram actually. The way I described it was that it like to set up and get things actually rolling, they really have to paint Alex as like kind of naive and very much like with that hero complex. So it's not in the
Yeah,
best light necessarily, but I think it's gonna pick up next issue a lot now that things are people have been put where they're gonna be at like the starting line basically. And I do like the second iteration of the team, like the people on it. I'm a big Cecilia Reyes fan, so like
yeah,
when I saw she was going to
me
be in the
too.
book, I was like, okay, I'll definitely grab that one. And then I saw who was writing it, and I was like, oh yeah, then I'm definitely grabbing it because I really like Mark Russell's stuff. So
Like I'll
the
be okay
issue,
with it as long as she doesn't get sacrificed like cannon fodder. Um, we'll see. Um, so so you say you're an Alex fan. What does that mean?
so I really want things to work out for him. Is how, but he makes it difficult.
Hmm.
I've always thought he was pretty interesting. He's got arguably even worse luck with women than his brother.
Like,
Just
do you
like
like him with Lorna, or did you like him more with Maddie, or like, what do you think about all
I
that?
think because Maddie has been handled in really like it's been all over the place too. I think they could work. Um, but yeah, I don't know who I want him with. I would have been fine with him being on his own for a bit.
Honestly, he might need to be on his own
He
because
just might need to do his
he
own
got to
thing.
figure himself out. I don't really like him being back with Polaire so suddenly because like
We never got any
that
real,
it feels like a real backtrack to like 15 years
yeah,
ago. But I mean, I guess I do kind of find this dynamic interesting where they're on opposite sides of do we work with the establishment or against it? Um, I don't know. I mean, it's only two issues in, so I'll give it a few more
yeah.
issues to see where it goes.
I still like Mark Russell's writing a lot, so I'm like I will probably give this more chances than other books. Like if it has some stumbles, I'm more likely to hold on to this book, just because of the creative team.
Yeah,
But I mean, so far it hasn't done anything that's like really thrown me off. Yeah, towards the end of this issue, I was like, man, Alex, you're a dummy. But other than that, oh, I forgot, I grabbed Dazzler too. Did you get that one?
yeah. I was going to mention that next. Yeah.
Nice. I did get that
What'd you
one
think?
too. I liked it.
Yeah, I thought
I
it was pretty fun, right? Like you actually get to see a Dazzler concert, which I feel like it's something we rarely get to see. Like we know she's a big pop star, and she usually gets like moments, but like to see
yeah, to watch
the
it
lead up
play through
and the
basically
act,
the whole
yeah.
thing.
Hmm.
Yeah, and this was one that I grabbed for the cast as well because I was like, oh, multiple man, huge fan. I like strong guy. Shark Girl's interesting.
Yeah,
I haven't read much with her, but
like I love that
how
she was the drummer for the
yeah.
band, and
Um
then so then Dazzler ends up singing a song called "Out and Proud" about how she's proud to be a mutant, even though she might not be the most mutant looking person.
of the mutants.
Like,
Yeah.
that was an interesting story. How she kind of, you know, like she's aware of her ability to kind of pass, but
Yeah, I
she's not
wonder
gonna.
how much they're going to get into that as like, because I mean, that's something really interesting they can dig into. And I feel like they probably will because they had the whole like hiding what Shark Girl looked like,
Hmm.
which I
So
was
it
like,
was
oh man, that's a rough look for Wind Dancer, but yeah.
right. Like I was about to say, like seeing when dancer Sophia Mantega, like I remember the New Academy stories from the
Yep, when she
2000s,
started.
and like she was a great character then, but now it was kind of weird seeing her being like, we gotta dial down the mutantness
Yeah, like
here.
so much into like the media side of things,
But it was
which
so
she
fun.
was in a Krakoa book and she was kind of doing the same thing in there, but I
She was,
don't
I think it was
remember
X
how far.
Factor. I think it was that version of X
I think it
Factor.
was. I think it was. Yeah, because she
Um,
was on Mojo World and
hmm.
stuff.
But
Yeah.
one thing about Wind Dancer, she's always gonna have that Ariana Grande ponytail. Like,
It's true.
I think she might have had it longer than Ariana Grande. I don't even know. But
Yeah,
yeah,
that was I was like, oh wow, I'm surprised that they like portrayed Wind Dancer acting like that, like even wanting to just like and very casually like, oh no, we're gonna hide what you look like because
yeah, and
it'll be bad for our image. Yeah, so I wonder if that's gonna be like a long running theme throughout, or if Dazzler being like, no, you should be okay with the way you look is just gonna be like that's the deepest they go into it, because I kind of wouldn't want it to just be brushed off like that.
yeah, like I definitely think that they're gonna dig into this. Like the whole issue was very like pointed in terms of what they were trying to say, and I don't think Wind Dancer was like completely like uh you know like in the sunken place for mutants. She was just mostly like it was just like it's her job to keep
Yeah, I mean
Dazzler
it was
safe.
yeah, it's one of those things where like you're not gonna like her for it, but they can
Hmm.
make it make sense where she's like, no, I'd
Hmm.
rather just not invite the problem. But
Hmm.
I mean that's sweeping it under the rug too. So it's
Hmm.
yeah, I think it could be really interesting if they like dig into it. Oh, also Domino's in the book. That's another reason I
Yeah,
grabbed it.
Domino. Yep,
Got a new
and
haircut for her?
I think so, and
Yes. It's pretty good. I like it.
she's fight training Dazzler, and like I mean I thought that scene got a little like I felt a little chemistry there, but I don't know if we're going in that direction or not.
Oh,
I think
I didn't pick up on it, but I'll have to reread that.
like I do. I have okay. Did you read that letters column at the back or that? I think it was an essay
I,
by Jason
yeah, he
Liu.
wrote one too. Yeah, because he was talking about some of his influences, like some of the singers that he was drawing from. I don't remember too much
So
about it, but
he briefly mentioned her Excalibur era where she had the pink hair, and
mhm.
I feel like in that era she was revealed to be like bisexual, maybe. So maybe she might
Oh,
end up
okay.
having a
Yeah,
little relationship with Domino. I don't know.
interesting.
I might just be speculating too much, but um, yeah, I'm pleasantly surprised because like I'm not like a huge Dazzler fan, but I do like her. I know she's got like a huge like
Fan base, yeah.
appeal, a huge fan base like within the X Men community, and so I'm excited for her to have her own book again. And as a musician, like I love characters who are into music. So like the fact that Jason Liu went the extra mile to write songs
Right,
for
lyrics.
Dazzler,
See,
like
I'm
lyrics.
less into music, so the fact that there were like lyrics, it was a little like I gotta get used to like they're like doing a full song in the book.
Hmm It
But
was a
I
little
thought
awkward, I'll
it
admit.
didn't pull me out of it fully, but
Hmm
it's music is really hard to convey over the
Absolutely.
way that comics flow. It's yeah.
Yeah. Like it's only lyrics and you have no idea how it's supposed to sound. So it's
Yeah, you're
like,
like, what is the cadence for this? Like,
yeah,
what kind of beat
exactly.
am I
Like
doing this with? It's
I
yeah.
feel like most comic book writers fail to write song lyrics that will translate well to a song. And I'll give them an A for effort, but I feel like in general though, some of those
I
rhyme
wonder if
schemes were
someone
a
has
little
put it together and
questionable.
like actually performed it yet. I wonder if a
That would be
fan has done
interesting.
that.
Like if they haven't done it yet, I'm sure someone will get to it eventually because he did two songs in this book. I think there was Out and Proud, and then there was the one about rich guy Warren. She was singing about
Yeah,
Angel
Angel.
and a
Yeah,
little flirtation they
I
had.
wonder if every issue is gonna have a song. I imagine that would be the thing, but I don't know. I know
We
the
shall
next issue is
see.
supposed to be very strong guy and domino centric. Right?
Okay. All right. Well, looking forward to that. Um, let's see. I think there was another book that I read, NYX #3. I'm really liking NYX. This issue focused on Anole and again another 2000s era character who we're seeing more of and where he's at now, and he basically kind of ends up uh, hanging out with the Morlocks. We see Caliban return into the storyline. He seems to be like in charge of the Morlocks now. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a series I didn't pick up from the beginning, so I'm waiting for that one. But I've
Okay.
heard it really addresses stuff about like Krakoa and people's responses to like being separated from that, and I was like, oh, cool. Well, it's getting some recognition there. So,
Yeah. Like,
yeah, I don't know how long it'll be till it's on unlimited, but yeah, I feel like oh, maybe I should have hopped onto this one.
well, I guess the first issue should be coming to Unlimited sooner rather than later. But I think it's great as I like that it focuses on the younger X-Men rather than like the same old X-Men that we know and love. I like that it's set in New York. Um, I never read the original NYX books because I heard that, they made X-23 like a prostitute or something. And that's kind of doesn't sit right with me as a X-Men Evolution fan. But you know, I think this issue is pretty interesting so far. Um, yeah. So I don't want to keep you too much longer, but I'll just briefly
Amazon.
mention a few more books that I read. Wolverine Revenge #2 came out this week. That book is I don't know what to say about this book. Like it's Jonathan Hickman, it's Greg Capullo. I think it's very popular. I just feel like there's too many Wolverine books right now. There's too many X-Men books, period. And on top of that, there's too many Wolverine books. Um, which one am I supposed to read? All of them? I don't know.
Right?
Um, I do feel like it's kind of undercutting the Saladin Ahmed book, which is like the mainstream Wolverine
Yeah,
title.
I was about to say
But
that's the main in continuity one is supposed to be that
yeah,
one, right?
I feel like they should have either gone with one or the other, or if if the Hickman one's a miniseries, just kind of like
Is his
let
like
that
supposed to be
be on
in
its own.
continuity too, or
No, it's not.
just
So
its
I
own
mean,
thing?
so it stands on its own. but I don't know. It just kind of bugs me in that sense that it's like so removed from anything else because I mean, especially as we're all kind of mourning the Krakoa era, Hickman has long since moved on. He's like, I'm on to other things, but I still like Wolverine, is what he's saying. so, um, so yeah, we've got that.
Yeah, I guess he's pretty unbothered with it, compared
Yeah,
to us. And that's a good lesson. If he can let it go, we can let it go.
I don't know, maybe, but for me, I'm just like, it's too soon, man, too soon. Um,
Feel that.
so I read a lot of the unlimited books. I'll just briefly list them. There's House of Harkness #4. There was Jeff Week, Infinity Comic #1. There was Lockheed #3 and X-Men from the Ashes. I read 15 and 16. Um, so yeah, lots of new Infinity comics out. Um,
I keep forgetting to read the Infinity comics, but I need to just go like knock a bunch out because they're an easy read too, but I keep
yeah, if
forgetting
you've
that
got
they're
them,
there.
might as well read them because I'm starting to realize like yeah, they're exclusive to Marvel Limited, so I feel like it's supposed to be like you know not necessarily like bonus content, but like
Yeah,
stuff that drives you into. I don't know. But yeah, I find that if you read them on your phone, I think they're meant to be read on a phone versus like
they
a
work really,
tablet,
yeah.
mhm, or a laptop, or I don't know. Like I don't know, it's just so tricky. But if you, I do recommend them because the stories are kind of fun and the artwork is pretty innovative. Um, a few other books came out this week that I haven't gotten to read yet, but they're on my list to either read or pick up later. So I'll just mention them briefly. X Force #3 came out. Like you said, Phoenix #3 also came out. Um, Predator versus Black Panther #2 came out. Uh, Ultimate Spider-Man #9. Amazing Spider-Man #58. Chasm Curse of Cain #2. I just like the alliteration of that title.
Chasm Curse of Cain. It's pretty fun to say, yeah.
And lastly, Daredevil Woman Without Fear #3. Like those are the books that are kind of on my radar for now. I'm sure there's lots of DC stuff that I want to get to eventually, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I've been reading more DC stuff on the app to like check out Justice Society, the Jeff Johns. That's what I've been reading
The old
those
or the new
because
one?
the new one, the most
Okay,
recent one, because I'm interested in the upcoming JSA series, and I think they'll probably take some cues from there. I just want to be familiar enough with the characters.
cool. Yeah, I like some of the JSA stuff. Like I really liked his middle run on JSA, like the one with Alex Ross covers. Like I was into that one. I collected all those
Yeah.
issues. Um, all right. So, any final thoughts about this week's books
I did
or last week's book?
remember another book that I had forgotten that I got because I got the it was a Kickstarter PDF that I got for Valiant's Black, White, and Bloodshot, an
Okay,
anthology series that I backed on there, and the Kickstarter version actually comes with a bunch of like bonus content with like scripts and stuff.
very cool.
It was good. It was good. Um, very violent, but that's par for the course for the character.
All right, and let's take a moment to kind of see what's ahead next week. Talk about some books we're looking forward to. At the top of my list is Storm #1. That's coming out next week on October 2nd. Um, we also have DC All In Special #1, so we're kind of getting our first sneak peek into that
Feel like I'm gonna have to get that one.
absolute stuff. Ultimate Black Panther #9. Very excited about that. X-Men #5. X-Men just keeps coming. It's like
It's really like, oof.
every 2 weeks it feels like new X-Men book. Um, and I do want to catch up on Batman and Absolute Power. I've got a lot of backlog reading to do, but
I'm caught up on what they have on the app for that one.
cool.
And I'm just gonna, yeah, I'll just consume it that way because I can't add any more physical books to my pulls right now.
Yeah, I understand. Like there's a new issue of Daredevil coming out next week, but I have to catch up to the books that are on Marvel Unlimited before I can even think about
Fair,
that.
fair.
Um, and I want to mention Multiverses Collision Detective number two is coming out next week. So there's a Scooby Doo right in the middle of that cover. I'm excited for that. And there's a witch on there. It looks like the Wizard of Oz witch. Yeah. And
Interesting.
and something caught my eye. There's a Ghost Rider Robbie Reyes special number one coming out next week.
Really?
Yeah. And I think it's
Might hear
like
about this.
yeah, I hadn't heard about it until I just looked up earlier today. And it's like Marvel Voices, I guess, because it's Hispanic Heritage Month that they're gonna spotlight him this year. Um, which I guess is like has its pros and cons because on the one hand, it's like great that we see more of Robbie Reyes. On the other hand, it's like, well, where has he been this whole time?
Yeah, he has
like,
been notably absent.
yeah, like why does he only get to come out for Hispanic Heritage Month? And I feel the same way about the black characters or whatever. Whenever
Yeah,
there's like
anytime they're like, "Oh
a
yeah, we
month,
have these characters. You can see them this week." Like that's it. Oh, okay, cool. Thanks, I guess.
but to Marvel's credit, they are, you know, trying to have more diversity. Like I think, like the writer for Storm, he mentioned online that this is his first ongoing, and he prior to that had only gotten to do like small shorts and things like in these specials and such. So it happens. Like eventually, there's stuff that goes on year round, but you know, that's the life of comic books, right? Characters come and go, and I don't know. I'm gonna check it out though because I do like Ghost Rider and Robbie Reyes. Oh my god! If you haven't seen season four of Agents of Shield, go watch it.
I
Cause
have.
because like
It's probably the best season of it, honestly.
yeah,
It's
right, it was
so
so good.
rad. Like,
Like it was so good. I had to stop watching after that because I just like I was like,
yeah, the
how are they
following
gonna live
one,
up to that season? I never
he's used really well in it. I
um
wish they would use, I can't remember the actor's name, but I wish he'd come back because that was solid. Like it's definitely different from his comic version, but
mhm,
it worked. It was great.
like um and they had the Darkhold in that show, I think, didn't they? Um
He left with it
so
at the end of it, so I'm
and
pretty
then
sure he grabbed it and like went to hell, and that was
are we gonna see a Ghost Rider Agatha face off flashback? I doubt it, but
me
it
too.
could be cool. But speaking of spooky characters, Archie Halloween Spectacular 2024 is coming out next week, so I might check that out as well. Um,
I'm scrolling really quickly, seeing if there's anything for me next week.
okay.
Might not have anything for that
Anything
deep.
I haven't mentioned here?
I can't read this fast enough. So there will probably be something.
Well, hopefully, you can tell us all about it next week, or catch Claude on Threads at Curly Insane Guy. There's underscore in there. Is that the beginning?
Yeah, at the end.
At the end. Thank you.
The end.
All
Yep. And
right.
it's the
So
same on Instagram.
yes. So check out Claude's social media. Check out mine at DMVCBN on Threads, Insta. I'm around. And YouTube. I guess we're already going to be on YouTube here. Um, what else do we need to say to close this up? I feel like I'm forgetting something.
I don't know. Keep it spooky.
Well, yeah, keep it spooky. I'm looking forward to the next episode of Agatha All Along. We'll probably be, sharing our thoughts from week to week on that. And yeah, let's just call it a day. So thanks everybody. Thanks for listening. Please like, subscribe, and until next time, Excelsior. Bye.